Next topic. I want to talk some music. Big surprise, some music. So, I have a friend, goes by the name of Huey Mack. And Huey Mack is from Morgantown. He has had some seminal success as a rapper, especially in the frat rap era. And what happened was Huey had this song. It was called Popular. It was on like his first big mixtape he put out, maybe his second that really started getting attention from like his classmates. He's still in high school, and then it's hitting the frat rap blogs, and he's getting this online following from YouTube and things like that. I don't know how he did it, but I was insanely jealous at the time. I can't even lie, as a rapper myself, obviously, and I couldn't figure it out. But then he also was on this song that the local radio station did called Morgantown State of Mind. And the video was on YouTube, and there was another radio personality on there who was rapping, and then Huey had a verse on it because his ex-stepdad worked at the radio station at the time, and so he did a verse on there. So here I am, little keyboard warrior, after watching this thing for, I don't know, either the first time or second time. It's like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night. I'm on YouTube in the comments section, just murdering this guy. Huey Mack ain't real. He only in it for the money. Blah, 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 blah. I didn't even know about his dad, I don't think, at that point. His stepdad at that point. And like, I'm just talking I'm like, he ain't serious. I'm such a better rapper. Blah, blah, blah. These people I rap with are so much better. We're all better. This guy's a clown. Blah, blah, blah. So imagine my surprise when who pops up in the comments to start arguing with me? But Huey Mack. He had nothing else to do other than that night, other than hop in the comments and start coming back at me. And he's like, what is your problem? And I'm like, bro, you ain't serious. You ain't real about rap. You don't care about rap. You just be rapping to rap, man. You just want to make money, and it's real easy for you to do. You're getting this little fan base, blah, blah, blah. You're doing this little radio song. And I'm just straight hating because we all know, hater by nature. Proud of it. But I am just, and then Huey starts not just arguing back. He starts explaining. So that's when he's like, my stepdad, now ex-stepdad, works at the radio station. I did it as a favor. And then he's like, I paid for studio time to go to ID Labs and record because there's nowhere else to record. I've done everything myself. And really just being as honest and as transparent as he could be with me in these YouTube comments. So we go back and forth for like 10, 15 minutes. And eventually I'm like, man, you know, maybe I could take it down a notch. Maybe it's not that serious. So because he was willing to come on the comments of a YouTube video for a song he didn't really even like and defend himself. And defend himself well, not just like, yo, F you, who are you? Blah, blah, blah. You ain't nothing. No, he took the time to try to explain where he was coming from with everything. Which I thought was really cool. I thought that was really cool of him. So he begrudgingly got my respect that night. And I started following him on social media. So I was seeing what his music coming out and stuff like that. And we would talk every night. We would tweet each other. And then one night, he's out downtown. And I'm literally laying in bed, angels asleep. And I tweet, I'm like, blah, 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 he's like, yo, come downtown, I'll buy you a beer. I'm like, he was underage, but he was in the middle of a bar drinking. Whatever. It's Morgantown. So I get out of bed and take the, 8-minute, 10-minute trek downtown from my house in South Park and meet him at what was called then, I think it was called the Bank then. I meet him there and we just sit there and have some beers, have some drinks, laugh it up, just me and him and a couple of his buddies. And we're just at the bar and he's just, whatever, he's mad chill. He's just mad chill he was in college by then, so he was like maybe 20 at that point. And he was just mad laid back. I'm like, man, I like this kid. Like, I really like this guy. Like, it's not just on some begrudging respect. I like who this guy is. Then he's like, hey, let's go back up to my frat. I'm like, all right. It's like 2 a.m, mind you. The bar was closing. Drunk as hell, both of us. And we walk all the way up High Street, all the way up Frat Row, all the way to the tippy top. And he takes me in the frat house, and then he takes me in his room. It's like 3 a.m, man. It's a long walk, so it's like 3:30, 3:45. 2:30, 2:45 by then. And we're in the room. He's like, yo, I want to play you some of my new songs I'm going to put on my next mixtape. I'm like, yeah, cool, whatever. I'm drunk, mind you, but this is my process. And he plays me his songs, and I'm like, yo, these are really good. This is better than anything that you just put out. Like, I feel like this is after Freshman 15. So whatever project he did after Freshman 15, maybe A Boy Named Hugh was what he was working on at the time. I'm like, these are really good. And he's like, yo, let's freestyle. And I'm like, really? It's like 3 a.m. He's like, I don't give a fuck. There it is. He's like, I don't care. I want to freestyle. I'm like, all right. So he turns on the beat. And then he spits this 20, 30 bar verse. That was pretty good for being wasted. And mine was okay because I can't freestyle anyway, and I'm decent when I'm drunk. So mine was an okay freestyle, and then he did it again. And I'm like, yo, this kid really likes rap. He loves the rap. And eventually I was like, yo, man, I got to go home. And he's like, oh, it's been cool hanging out with you, Hyphen, man. You're a real cool guy, man. You've always shown me a lot of respect, and I appreciate that. I'm like, yeah, man, no problem, Huey. No problem. And that is the only time to this day that me and Huey Mack ever hung out, okay? And so ever since then, with his projects, he moves to L.A., hooks up with Mike Stud and John Kilmer out there. And they do a project, him and Stud do. Huey drops his first album, Pretending Perfection, I think. And, you know, he's touring with Mike. And it's like, oh man, he's doing really good for himself. It's great to see. So I'll listen to some of his music, and it wasn't for me, and I knew that. Like, I enjoyed what I had heard previously on his mixtapes, but I knew the era he was in when he started dropping albums wasn't really for me. So I didn't really actively go listen to it, but I supported him whenever I saw something come across Twitter. I retweet, shout him out, you know, and he would always respond. Yo, Hyphen, I appreciate that. You know, blah, 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 blah. And I just always thought it was cool because, you know, like you know somebody locally and they blow up and you would think they would act a little different. Huey never acted different, which I thought was really cool. So fast forward to he comes back to do a show in Morgantown in we were in the house by then. So it was like 2017, 2018 winter. And I hit up DJ Yemi. Shout out to Yemi, man. Hope you're doing well. Who used to DJ all his stuff for him when he was local. And I'm like, yo, can you give me tickets? Like me and my boy Anthony, we want to go check out the show. And he's like, oh, I don't know. You might have to ask Huey. And I'm like, oh man, like there's no way he's going to answer me. And it's like, whatever. So I shoot Huey a text. I'm like, or a message on Instagram because I follow on Instagram. I'm like, hey, anyway, I can get 2 tickets. I keep saying ticks. Can I get 2 tickets for the show in Morgantown? And probably within an hour, he hits me back like, yeah, I got your name on the list. You +1. No problem. Not that his tickets were outrageous. I was just being extremely cheap. I was like, I want to see if Huey give me a ticket to the show, you know. See what I can get. And he's like, absolutely. So me and Anthony go enjoy the show. And this is the first time I'd seen Huey perform live, I think, that I remember. And I had a freaking ball at his show. He tore it down. He was absolutely wonderful. Did a great job. And I caught up with him a little bit after the show. I was like, yo, man, I really love the show. Mind you, he was drunk. He was of age by now. So, yo, Hyphen, I really appreciate that, man, blah, blah, blah. yeah, we're going to go do this. I'm like, nah, it's cool, man. I'm going to go home. I get up. I don't even know if the show's middle of the week. I got to work tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. He's like, cool, man. It's always so great to see you, Hyphen, blah, 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 blah. Mad cool. Super chill. So the pandemic hits. And he had just dropped an album in 2019, which I really enjoyed because I'm not going to look, but if you go to his discography, it's the album before The Cozy Bar, which is the one I'm about to talk about. And that album was like a pivot where it's like, it's not so much, I want to go out and chase these girls and do these drugs and blah, 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 like the frat rap that he was known for, that he was doing like most of his early career. It was more introspective. I'm like, I'm kind of interested to hear this because Huey can rap and Huey knows how to get his point across and Huey knows how to make songs. So all of that was working for me on that album. Then the pandemic hits and my man's sitting on Instagram plucking a guitar and he's like, I know, I'm working on a couple things. And I'm like, okay. Because another mutual artist, a friend of ours, David Morris, used to go by DY. Now he's David Morris, and he's coming off his first national tour as David Morris, which is his government name. And he went kind of country, mostly country pop with some rap sprinkled in from being strictly a rapper. So I was thinking, okay, Huey's about to kind of do the same thing. And every now and then Huey dropped a little snippet. And then from there, he had started a podcast, and then he did a couple interviews, which I always listen to his podcast interviews, and I'm always looking for that really good interview. But nobody who interviews him ever really gets into it with him about his career and stuff, because he's friends with him usually, and so they just end up BSing the whole time, and it's good. It's a fun listen. It's entertaining, but it's like that's not the Huey Mack interview I want. And then last year, he's like, yo, I'm going to drop this album, The Cozy Bar. It's a departure from what I was doing before. I hope you like it, but this is where my heart is. And I listened to one of the videos he drops, which is absolutely phenomenal. It's just a one-take video of Huey singing. And yes, singing. He no longer raps. He's not the world's greatest singer, but he's not bad either. And it's just real talk about his friends dying from drugs, and yet he's still doing drugs sometimes, and maybe he's bad at love because his mom's been married 4 times. And I told him immediately as soon as I saw that video, I messaged him on Instagram. I'm like, yo, this is the best thing you ever done. Yo, thanks, Hyphen. I really appreciate that. But I never listened to the album because I get the things when I get the things. And so I sat down. I'm driving around Morgantown 2 weekends ago. And I'm like, man, I'm going to throw on The Cozy Bar. I'm going to do it. And from the first song, I just knew this is my new favorite Huey Mack project. On this 14-track album, I did not find any songs that I didn't like. I listened to the first 2 songs, and I immediately went to Instagram, because that's what I do. And I pulled up Huey on my messages. And then I proceeded to talk at Huey, not knowing when he'd get to look at it. Whatever. No big deal. There's no rush. And, what I said about his video was, new song is beautifully haunting. I love it. Visuals are perfect too. That's what I said when I watched his video. And we're talking about Notting Hill there. Yeah, we were nerding out about Notting Hill. So I'm finally listening to the album, and I'm not lying when I tell you this would fit in perfectly between Folklore and Evermore. Now, y'all know how I feel about Folklore and Evermore. They're my favorite Taylor Swift albums, and they completely changed my mind about who Taylor Swift was as an artist. That was immediately my response after the first 2 songs on The Cozy Bar, because it's just guitars and simple instrumentation, but it's folk, but it's pop folk for 2023. It just spoke to me, man. And every song on this album I enjoy the hell out of. At 41 minutes, it's probably one of my favorite albums I've listened to in the last 12 months. I really enjoy the work that he did on this. Because finally, for anybody else who ever looked at Huey Mack, the rapper, and be like, he's only doing it for these reasons, blah, 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 blah. He don't really love rap. For anybody who ever said a word about him, the Cozy Bar is a defiant FU in their face. And it's just Huey going a different direction, allowing himself to grow as an artist. Something that all artists always want to do. They want to grow. They want to be better than they were before. And most of the time fans don't love it, but I dig this move for Huey. I absolutely love it. I cannot get enough of it. And me and Huey had a good conversation, man, because I sent him that, and he said the change was heavily inspired by folklore. And we talked for... I was in Lowe's by the time we finished talking. And so, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes, just messaging back and forth about the album and all the inspirations and the old days. And it's a really good album. It really is. Another recommendation. Go listen. If you like folk music, if you like a little pop music like you know your boy does, if you want to see an artist grow, and since I'm in his Spotify anyway, I want to tell y'all that previous album that he dropped that I really enjoyed. A Romantic Comedy, 2019. So stinking. Romantic Comedy is really good too. But that's where I started to see the growth as a rapper. And then he did this 180 to singing folk songs. And he can write some tunes, man. And his voice has the right timbre, I guess, to keep your attention without it being like, you know, like when some people can't sing, you get bored and they're trying to sing, it just doesn't work. But Huey has a decent singing voice. And then with his lyrics and then the instrumentation and of course the guitars, it all works very well together. And I couldn't be more proud of him. And I love the Cozy Bar. I absolutely love the Cozy Bar. So do yourself a favor. If you're curious, if you're at least curious, Huey Mack, the Cozy Bar. Thank me later. No Drizzy.